today I'm going to share with you a story from my show, Stories of Inspirational Women. Hundreds and thousands of women have proven again and again that it doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter your ethnicity, culture or age. You can make a difference. And the woman that I want to talk about in my series is Marie Curie. She showed determination, tenacity and courage. Even though she was quiet and dignified and unassuming, this lady gained so much admiration. She was the first woman to be awarded a Nobel Prize in 1903 for physics, and then again in 1911 in chemistry. She was the first person to be awarded a Nobel Prize in 2 different sciences. But it's not her awards that draw me to her. It's her story that is inspiring. And that is what I would like to share with you today. So let's head over to the lab and find out more about Marie Curie. Okay, so welcome to the lab. So Marie Curie, she grew up in Poland in 1880. Now this was a very long time ago and the world was a very different place. Women weren't treated as equals. They were actually treated very, very differently and forbidden to do many things. And in Poland, where Marie Curie was growing up, girls were not allowed to go on to higher education. So when they reached 17 years old, they were to stay at home. How frustrating to be a girl and to know that you cannot learn any more because of your gender. Marie Curie had so much curiosity within her. She had so many questions that it was heartbreaking to know that she wouldn't get to find out the answers. But luckily, she had a very cool father who brought back a gift from his work. He worked in a laboratory and he brought back some test tubes and some beakers for Marie Curie to play with. How cool is this? So Marie Curie started to play and started to experiment. Her passion in science was ignited. She started mixing things up. She started heating them, cooling them down, seeing reactions occur and trying to figure out why and how they worked. She was starting to think like a chemist. A chemist is a scientist with a love of chemistry. And chemistry is the study of chemicals. You could say that a chemist is like an investigator, somebody who loves to observe and ask a lot of questions. They want to find out what things are made of and why and how they react and what they release. Rosalind Franklin. Science, for me, gives a partial explanation for life. Insofar as it goes, it is based on fact, experience and experiment. Mary Maillard Daly. Courage is like, it's a habitus, a habit, a virtue. You get it by courageous acts. It's like you learn to swim by swimming. You learn courage by couraging. Marie Curie started to think like a chemist and hypothesize like a physicist. A physicist studies physics. Physics is the study of energy and matter in space and time and how they are related to each other. Physicists will study the structure of atoms, sound, magnetism, light and other radiation. Katherine Johnson. I asked questions. I wanted to know why. They got used to me asking questions and being the only woman there. Ruby Payne Scott. Vocabulary words are the building blocks of the internal learning structure. Vocabulary is also the tool to better define a problem, seek more accurate solutions. So Marie Curie started studying in secret. She even attended a secret university just for girls called the Flying University. It was also known as the Floating University, but not because it flew or it floated above the ground. No, it was because it was a secret educational enterprise that was working outside of the government's censorship. It moved location so that the teachers and the students wouldn't get caught, because if you were caught, the chances were that you would be arrested and thrown into prison. It was risky being a 17-year-old girl and wanting to learn.
We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained.
But Marie Curie, she followed her curiosity and she raised enough funds to move away from Poland. She actually moved to France, where women were treated with a little bit more respect. They were allowed to go to university. Now, it still wasn't easy. There weren't very many women going to university, but Marie Curie, she followed her passion, and her passion was so strong that she ignored all those doubters and continued doing what she loved, science. She even met her husband here, and they had a great relationship. And they studied together, and this was where they made a groundbreaking discovery. They discovered a new element. They called it polonium, in honour of Marie's home country, Poland. You can find it on the periodic table with the symbol PO and the atomic number 84. Marie Curie didn't stop there. She discovered another element. She named it radium, from the Latin word radius, meaning ray. It emitted a fluorescent glow that Marie Curie called radioactivity. The more they studied it, the more intriguing it became. Now, Marie Curie nearly didn't get the recognition for this research because she was a woman. But her husband put his foot down and complained, and so Marie Curie's name was honoured, making her the very first woman to be awarded a Nobel Prize. She actually became the first person to be awarded a Nobel Prize in 2 sciences. First in physics for discovering polonium, and then in chemistry for discovering radium.
Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood.
These discoveries would lead the way to groundbreaking medical treatments, and radium produced a radiation that could destroy the bad cells in the human body. Marie Curie even went on to design an X-ray machine that was portable and could be taken to the battlefield of World War I for the wounded soldiers. Fascinated by the glow of radium, this radioactivity, Marie carried around samples in her pockets. She even slept with samples by her bed. She didn't realise the danger she was putting herself in until it was far too late. You see, radium held a very dark secret. It released a radiation, and Marie Curie was exposing herself to this radiation by carrying it around and being around it constantly. Marie Curie left behind a legacy that is still radioactive 120 years later. She led the way for other women to get involved in science and not be afraid of those doubters. And she changed the history of science. All she did was dream big, aim high, and she changed the world.